Welcome to episode 1 of Wyandot Lake, a Planet Coaster 2 creation, and the first episode on the channel. Today we are going to be getting started on an all new water park, starting with the parking lot and our entry building. So we're going to start with a water park because obviously the game focuses heavily on water parks compared to the first one. And then once we do that, eventually we'll kind of move in and build a dry park, add to it. Not going to do that right away once we finish the water park. I kind of want to go through and have some fun with the financial aspect and all that. We're starting with $1 million as we build the park. And obviously, I think we'll go through most all of that during the kind of initial phase here of building the water park. When we do open the water park, we are going to have 4 distinct areas of it. I'll kind of go through what those are going to be as we kind of get to each section. But my plan for the layout is you'll walk in, you'll have kind of an open area, and then kind of a big circle, and we'll have within that circle a big lazy river that'll go around, and then kind of a center themed area, and then on the kind of, I say, south side. I don't really know if it's south in the game, but if you were to walk in on the south side, and that was the park entrance, the south side, kind of the south side just east of the entrance will be a themed area. That'll be the second one that we build together, and then kind of heading up the west side, we'll have 2 themed areas as well. That'll all kind of connect together. Should be kind of cool. I don't go to a lot of water parks, so I don't know how accurate the look and design is and would be to a real water park, but hey, we're gonna give it a go. We are gonna leave the park closed for right now while we build the park. I, for whatever reason, it has always kind of bothered me when people build these projects and Planet Coaster, and I watch the videos and they've got the park open and it's not done, or they're working on a really cool ride and they're adding all this heavy theming and scenery, and the ride's not done. And then by the time they finish all of it and they open it up, and your prestige has gone down, and it's like, no, 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 build the park, complete it, and then open everything at the same time, so you get kind of that maximum kind of impact like you would in a real park. So we're gonna leave it closed for now. While we build it. Once we do finish building the entire park, we'll kind of come back and do kind of a final touch-up episode or two, just kind of making sure all the details are where we want them to be when we open the park. I don't know how many episodes it's going to take for us to kind of get to being able to open the park. I would guess maybe 30, 35. I have a bunch of episodes recorded, not audio for recorded, but the actual video itself. And so I think I've probably got 20 or so that I've recorded. So I think probably 30, 35, just kind of knowing where I am in terms of the park. That's where we'll get to, but we'll do a final touch-up episode. I've started recording all of this as soon as the game came out. In fact, I think the footage you're seeing right now is literally from the day the game came out, or a couple days after. And obviously with all the updates, I think they've released 5 or 6 updates at this point. A lot has changed. So we'll go back through and we'll touch up some things, and I'll talk here in a little bit about how I'm going to approach that with the game, all the recent updates since we've started building. But that's kind of what my plan is for there. I am really excited for the lazy river. It's going to be one of the last things we're going to build before we open. Actually getting ready to build it in real life now. In terms of video releases, it'll be a little bit of a ways out, but it's going to also kind of act as a transport, and that's part of why I'm kind of okay with it being, it's June now when I'm recording the audio of this, and the park's still not done because it's one of those things that I think is going to get fixed. I know right now lazy rivers are, kind of broken a little bit, and so I think that'll kind of get fixed, and that'll be great. Um, yeah, so I do want to try to kind of have this as kind of a hyper realistic park. So we turned finances on. We're starting with the max money, which is $1 million. Loans are enabled. I will say, I do think we are going to need loans. I have focused heavily on building with the foliage, and foliage is expensive in this game. It kind of seems like your rides are expensive. Your slides are going to run anywhere from I think $20,000 to $30,000, and then all of a sudden, your buildings themselves aren't that expensive. Maybe I don't know, a couple $1,000s a piece, maybe 3, 4 thousand at the most, and then all of a sudden you build your foliage, and I've budgeted out how much each park in each section of each park should cost, and it's like, man, I'm doing really well, and then you get to that foliage and it just gets expensive. um, so right now we're kind of just laying out uh, the layout of kind of our entry area, everything that needs to be included, um, what the buildings are going to look like, and then we'll go through and finish them up. But in terms of the settings of the game, this is all done prior to the first update, so some things may be a little different now, and I may have tweaked them if I could do it differently. But I left all our moods, preferences, and needs turned on for our guests. I think I made sure they were on high need. I don't think I turned them up a little bit. Power settings obviously turned on. Staff pay and breaks turned on. To make the game more difficult, this is something that always bothered me about the first game. I turned off refunds on demolition. So when we demolish something, we do not get money back. So that investment is gone. So there's no just delete everything and make some money. I know that was kind of a cheap hack in the early games, but not going to have that in there. Loans are turned on. We're not starting with any, but like I said, I do think we are going to end up needing some, especially with the foliage. I want to kind of put foliage kind of all around the outside of the park, so I do think we'll need that, and then obviously starting with the $1 million in cash, which, as you can see, we've already spent, looks like about 10,000 of that. So, maybe it doesn't go down quite as fast as maybe you would in real life, but still kind of goes down fairly quickly there. So, why am I playing with cash? So this is actually kind of something when I watch other content creators for Planet Coaster, I don't really see them playing with cash. So why am I doing that? Well, I know management is getting better, especially compared to where the management aspect of the game was at the beginning. But I just kind of like that challenge. I like that realism with it. I wanna make it where maybe we have a really good ride, and then all of a sudden it's expensive and the park can't afford it, and so we got to get rid of it, and so there it goes. I just kind of like that realism, and also when it comes to building rides, I don't want to just build a ride to build a ride, right? I want to have that budget component to it. I think it's really easy to go through and build just incredibly heavily themed and world record breaking esque rides, but that to me just isn't a ton of fun. And so by adding in the financial component to that, it makes it so it's a little more realistic. You got to kind of plan out your additions a little bit more. You can't just build that massive slide complex every year, or that gazillion-dollar roller coaster that barely any parks could afford in real life every year. And so I just wanted to have that, make sure you're a little more strategic, and make sure also that we're building kind of a complete park, kind of a well-rounded park. I recently started going back and going through some of my old Planet Coaster 1 parks. Before the last update that came out here at the end of May, the game was actually glitched for me, so I couldn't really play it a ton. And it's been kind of fun going back and looking at some old parks that I built and kind of the financial aspect of them, because I didn't do a very good job, and so they weren't very well-rounded parks. The layouts weren't good, and so I just kind of want to focus on that. And I think playing with cash allows me to do that a little bit more. And I mean, you can see we've already spent a little over $50,000 on just the park entry area, and if I am correct, we budgeted out the entry plaza to have $100,000 budget. Our three kind of outside our circle themed areas are each going to have about $150,000 to play with. Our center area, I've got $300,000, but I think it's going to end up costing a little closer to $4, just because it's going to be so foliage intensive. And with the lazy river, which I think is going to cost a lot more than I thought when I started. I'm also going to put in a gondola. I don't know how well it's going to work. And I'll come back to that in a second. This is something that's really bothered me, and I don't think it's been fixed yet. But I read you here in a second, this kind of roofing sidewall, because they don't have the right side piece for the bamboo. And I actually think it worked out really well here. We end up putting a little bit of a design in front of it. Yeah, you'll see these pieces here. I think we actually maybe even shrink them down a little bit, but it works out. But I think we've had 6 updates, and I haven't needed this piece again, so I haven't checked, but I don't think it's in the game still. And I will say I give Frontier a ton of credit. They have really cleaned up the game, and added in a bunch of missing stuff. But stuff like this, man, it just bothers me. And if it isn't cleaned up yet, maybe it is, and I just haven't noticed it. But if it's not cleaned up yet, I really hope maybe here in the June update they can get that cleaned up. So back to the gondola. So I wish we had kind of the bucket gondola. I think it's Von. I don't even remember. It's a German gondola rides, but kind of like the Sky Side Von Roll. That's what it is. Kind of the Von Roll style bucket seating. I wish they had in the game. Unfortunately, they don't. But we're gonna put that in, kind of connecting kind of the outer edges of the park. I don't know how well it's gonna work, because I think guests have to change out of their swimsuits in order to ride them. Is what it is. Wish you could maybe toggle those transport rides so that anybody could ride them. And maybe it is set that way. I don't know. I've not. This is the only park I haven't played a coaster to, so I'm not really fully sure of the dynamics unless it's something that's explicitly been said somewhere and I've happened to see it. So I don't know. We're gonna find out, but it would be kind of nice if they could ride their swimsuits for that, because I think otherwise it's just probably not gonna get a ton of use. So right now we are working on kind of the entry sign. One of the things I think is iconic about parks is kind of that main entryway and the photos. I went to Cedar Point about a month ago, and then Kings Island a couple weeks ago, and both those parks just have kind of iconic entrances, right? Cedar Point's got Gatekeeper, You kind of come through, you have that beautiful sign kind of up on the little garden there with the ride in the background. Kings Island and Kings Dominion, very similar, right? You walk in, you have the flower bed with the sign, which I actually think Kings Islands might be new this year. I don't know. It's smaller than I remember. Um, but you've got the beautiful sign with fountains in the background. Carowinds isn't, I don't think, as great as the rest of them, but still kind of a great entrance with Fury. Um, but all this to say, the signage of a park entrance is massively important. It's a photo spot, right? You want your guests to come in and take photos in front of it. And I know this isn't in the game, but it's still something that for that realism, I think is important. And so that is kind of what we were trying to do, right? So with the big water park, I did want to make it have a water element, which is kind of what you're seeing right now. And I think I actually ended up putting in the water squares. Yeah, there we go. Right on time. Look at that. So I ended up kind of putting these in, which they look so much better now than they did when the game first came out. So those were in there, and then I kind of put in this little beach ball statue kind of thing with like a little crab on top. Kind of, I don't know, maybe the park mascot. If you got any names for him, let me know. I was thinking about it, and I actually kind of want to maybe kind of hide a little crab throughout the park. I think it would maybe be kind of fun, but if I'm going to do that, I need a name for the crab, make sure he's actually kind of our mascot. And then I ended up putting in this kind of waterfall, right? I talked about being a water park, wanted that water aspect, and water brings energy, right? It kind of symbolizes energy and movement and fluidity, and so I really kind of wanted that. And so I didn't use the waterfall pieces. I don't even know if they were in the game at release. I think they were. I'd be surprised if they weren't. But I put in like the little water, I think water jets, and then we put the kind of the splash effects in the bottom. It comes out really well. The only thing is, I think, especially maybe as the updates with the white background, it can be kind of hard to see. So I might go back in and maybe see if I can tweak the color of the water now that that's an option. I assume you can do it with water jets as well. I've not actually checked yet. And then maybe you tweak the background here a little bit. We'll kind of do that when we clean everything up. So you saw me a little bit ago. You see it right there. The name of the park. So Wyandot Lake. Where does Wyandot Lake come from? Well, Wyandot Lake was an actual water park way back in the day in Columbus, Ohio, which is where I am originally from, and it's located, or I should say was located right next to the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium, which, by the way, if you're ever in Columbus, you need to go visit the Columbus Zoo. I mean, just absolutely fantastic. One of the just best zoos anywhere in the country. But it opened in 1984, ended up closing in 2006 when it was sold to the zoo. But it was owned by when I was growing up, it was owned by Six Flags. And I mean, I lived probably, I don't know, 3 minutes away. And so every year, my dad and I would go, and we'd go to the water park and had the big bucket that I always remembered kind of standing underneath and having that water dumped on us. And we'd get season passes at the beginning of the year. And then we'd go like 3 more times. It ended up closing in 2006. The Columbus Zoo ended up buying it. It was located, when I say next to the zoo, I mean they literally shared a parking lot. They're right there, right next to each other. And so the zoo bought it. They built, I think it's called Jungle Jack's Landing, kind of connecting the zoo to the water park. And then they ended up completely tearing down the water park and rebuilding it from scratch. and opened in 2008 as Zoombz Bay. I think they still have a couple of slides from the original park. I want to say the buckets, which were my favorite part. I think they actually just got rid of those. They just built a new slide complex called Conservation Tower this year, which has a couple different slides on it. But I think they got rid of the kind of last of the original Wyandot Lake stuff when they built it. But that's where the name came from, kind of an homage to kind of a little bit of my childhood. This isn't a recreation of Wyandot Lake, not in any way, shape, or form. Just kind of wanted to go with the name. I've got family in Wyandot County, Ohio, so there's kind of another connection. Ironically enough, I don't really think there are massive lakes in Wyandot County. The Wyandot name comes from Native American tribes that used to be in Ohio. We used to have a ton of them here, so that's kind of where the name Wyandot County, Wyandot Lake come from. But yeah, so I talked a little bit about the realism, and yeah, this isn't a recreation anyway, but I want to make sure we have that with all of our builds. So right here you can see we're putting on these windows, and they're covered, they're shaded, because on the other side of this is a changing room. So it allows us to have that natural light that comes into the buildings, but you wouldn't want regular windows because you don't want people looking in and seeing people changing. And so that's kind of why we went with these, I would call them kind of shutters, I guess, kind of built in, not movable. But that's also why I left a lot of, there's a lot of blank wall left. And then you kind of saw earlier, I tried to kind of decorate it with a generic kind of beach surfer vibe, which is not necessarily kind of the theme of the park per se, but it just kind of felt right. It kind of feels like, you know, you're walking into this kind of water park with all these different themes, and with kind of the water feature you saw there with the little crab, which I just adore. It just really felt like it was the right place for it. And you'll see, I think we put it in the posters. I think we do that right now. Just to add a little bit more to these walls. That's something about me is I hate having a ton of blank space. I feel like it always needs something, which I don't think it was always true in real life, but I think just in terms of this game, I think maybe it just looks a little bit better. You'll see, I think actually it was a minute ago, we put some signage in along the entry plaza. This is a little bit of a theme within, but I've got a ton of blank signs. So if you have suggestions on what to put for them, please drop those in the comments below. This area I think looks great, but I think kind of the area walking out to the water park is still a little bland, and I'll put some foliage in kind of eventually before we open the park, but it still could use a little bit more, I think. So if you have any ideas of kind of what I could do over here, let me know. Security was not built into the entry plaza, was not something when I started this, but obviously with the May update, that is now an aspect of the game. So I might put kind of a security office there. There's a couple areas within the park that I might put security, so we'll kind of see what I do there, but let me know kind of what your guys' suggestions are. So we are wrapping up this first episode here. So in our next episode, we are going to wrap up this entry area in front of the park with our ticketing booths and a bathroom building, and then kind of move inside the park and work on our entry plaza buildings a little more that we kind of laid out here in this episode. Also going to spend some time talking about what my thoughts are on the game, from where it was released to where it is now, and where it is going according to the roadmaps that Frontier has laid out. Eventually, I am going to start releasing videos once a week, but since I have so many videos done from the time the game was released up until now. I'm doing the voiceovers on all of them today. And there have been so many updates. I don't want to bore everyone with content with missing pieces and outdated mechanics and themes, so I'm going to go ahead and release the next video tomorrow. And I actually might release the first 3 videos today and then start episode 4 tomorrow. Don't know yet as the time of recording this, but I'll release daily videos until we are kind of somewhat caught up on the game and updates, and then I'll kind of start a regular schedule of posting daily, or every week I should say. I think that'll probably be sometime between Wednesday and Friday each week, but I'm not 100% sure yet. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and look at that. That is all the video I have. So we'll wrap this up. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. If you liked watching this, not really expecting anyone, but hey, enjoy. And that's all I've got for today. So we will see you in episode 2.